Hey everybody, it's your old boy Brickhouse here, and man, I gotta say, I hope these reports aren't true. I hope these rumors aren't true as it pertains to one of the greatest, most iconic big screen characters of all time. That would be James Bond. Now, the rumor is that the character of James Bond will be reinvented for the modern world. Now, I, for one, think that would be a mistake. Throughout the years, since the first James Bond movie, Dr. No, all the way up through No Time to Die with Daniel Craig, the only changes that you would see is really the tone of the movies as James Bond is portrayed by a specific actor. And here's what I'm talking about. If you go back in time and you watch Dr. No all the way up through to, I forget the last movie that Connery had before George Lazenby took over for Her Majesty's Secret Service. But when you watch those first few movies with Sean Connery as James Bond, and then you watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service, there is a change in the tone, and it's because of the actor playing James Bond, the title character. You see the tone change again when Sean Connery comes back for Diamonds Are Forever. Then you see a big shift in the movies and the way Bond is portrayed when Roger Moore takes over in Live and Let Die, all the way up through his run in A View to a Kill. It's a little more, Roger Moore's movies were a little more campy, for lack of a better term. Then you move on to Timothy Dalton in his two movies, License to Kill and Living Daylights. Those movies are a little more grittier because that was Timothy Dalton. Then you move to Pierce Brosnan, GoldenEye. And GoldenEye was done at a time when the Cold War was over. Russia's not the enemy that they once were. They're not the threat. But you know what? GoldenEye still played up that Cold War mentality to a point, and it worked. And the tone of those movies was different than Timothy Dalton's. They weren't campy, but they weren't gritty. They were somewhere in between. And then you had the shift with Daniel Craig back to a more grounded 007, where you got more into the emotional side of 007 with Casino Royale, with his relationship with Vesper Lynn, and when Vesper dies at the end of that movie. Look what happened with No Time to Die. Never thought I would see a movie where James Bond says, "Hey, I'm done." And they would actually end that character. So here we have an interview in The Guardian with Barbara Broccoli. She said there are plans for the character to be reinvented for the next chapter, even though that process hasn't begun. The next film would have to reflect the way the world has changed in the 2 decades since Craig was confirmed as the 6th 007, and pointed out that Bond has often been reinvented. Yes, reinvented as a character in the tone of the movies, but not reinvented for modern times. You reinvent James Bond for modern times, you take an alpha male who is cool, who is suave, who is sophisticated, and he is a ladies' man, and you know what you're going to turn him into? You're going to turn him into a beta male who's going to rely on the girl boss, the strong woman, to save him. That's what's going to happen. That's what modernization of James Bond would look like. Kind of what Disney Marvel's done in the MCU. Kind of like what Disney Star Wars has done with the last trilogy of movies. And some of their TV shows, like Hawkeye, Moon Knight. Broccoli went on to justify why she believes the character needs to be reinvented for the modern era, pointing to Pierce Brosnan's GoldenEye film, as well as the recently concluded Daniel Craig era. As for GoldenEye, go back to GoldenEye when everyone was saying the Cold War is over. The wall's over. Bond is dead. No need for Bond. The whole world's at peace, and now there's no villains. Boy, was that wrong. Yeah. Look at Die Another Day. That didn't have anything to do with the Russians. Didn't have anything to do with the Cold War. That was North Korea. Tomorrow Never Dies was a megalomaniac media giant. So, just saying. Conlon also added that Broccoli informed her the modernization is necessary when a new actor plays the part. No. Go back and watch Casino Royale. Which, for those of you who don't know, Casino Royale is kind of the origin story. I wish they would have done Casino Royale back in the 60s with Sean Connery, but they couldn't get the licensing for it back then. So I'm going to skip down here a little bit. Broccoli reiterated she has no plans to take James Bond to television outside of the reality program. Yes, there is a new reality program out there starring... I forget his name, but he was in Succession, played the dad. But yeah, James Bond does not belong on the small screen. James Bond belongs on the big screen. Always has, always will. Scrolling down here a little bit further, Broccoli previously shared her plans for future Bond films in an interview with Variety back in September 2022. She informed the outlet it's an evolution. Bond is evolving just as men are evolving. I don't know who's evolving at a faster pace. Again, Bond's an alpha. He needs to stay an alpha. Then she gets into the emotional arc of the Daniel Craig Bond, which I already touched on. So I'll leave it to you guys. Comment down below. Tell me what you think. My opinion is James Bond going to change? Yes, James Bond is going to change. The character is going to change. The tone of the movie is going to change, depending on who the actor is playing the title character. That's the way it has been since Sean Connery left, since George Lazenby left after his one film, since Connery came back, since Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig. Every iteration of Bond has been different depending on the actor playing the title character. That's the change that needs to happen. Not this modern time BS. So I'll leave it for you guys to comment. While you're at it, please take the time to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video out there with your friends and family. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my content here on YouTube. And as always, thank you for watching. I will see you later.